Welcome to Over Totality. If you're new here, make sure to click that subscribe/add button so it appears on your feed. And if you're returning, welcome to the podcast. I'm Jay, your host for Over Totality. Let's get into the episode. Hold up. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are certain creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more big platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and make your podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to the third episode of Over Totality. So, I have a lot of stuff to discuss, actually. I don't know where to begin, but first of all, I want to say that I have not recorded another episode in almost 3 weeks because the first two episodes you guys watched listened to were pre-recorded episodes. I recorded them way back in May, so I have not hit the mic in a while, so I'm kind of excited about what we're going to be talking about today. So a lot of the stuff I'm actually going to be talking about is stuff I wanted to talk about in the first and second episode, because when you guys heard the first and second episode, that's when these events took place, but those episodes were pre-recorded, so I couldn't talk about those in that episode, which caused there's a lot, okay? So, we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff today that I wanted to talk about, that I wanted to talk about in episode 1 and 2. So, the first thing I want to talk about was the Worldwide Conference, Developer Conference by Apple, which actually took place on June 7th, and we figured out a lot of stuff. But the problem was, June 11th was my first that was the first episode, and it was pre-recorded in May, something in May, so it was way before I actually watched it, and I wanted to talk about it and give some highlights. I did do a video over it, which the link will be in the podcast notes or description, whatever, if you guys want to go and check out the channel. The video is one of the recent videos, I think, but I want to start talking off with that. So we found so much stuff about iOS 15 in the conference, and I was pretty excited about it because normally, I don't keep super, attentive look over Apple's events in person, but since they did their first keynote in 2020, I've just been addicted in watching them. Their transitions and they're just all these really cool editing stuff just makes it so entertaining to watch the keynote, so I was so excited about it, and so when I watched it, I came into watching it thinking, it's just going to be a lot of, stuff talking about coding and apps. Not something that was going to be really a forte for people who, the generic population. It was probably people that are developers. But they spit out a lot of really, really cool facts and a lot of cool stuff. So they are having iOS 15 coming, or they announced iOS 15, which, it was pretty predictable. They have one every year, but it's always reassuring when they officially announce it. But in iOS 15, a lot of features came, so I'm not going to talk about every feature, but I'm going to talk about some of my favorites. First one was the Mac AirPlay thing. I don't know the name for that. I'm sorry. This is not a tech podcast, but that thing was super cool. It's basically where you can actually take an iPad or an iPhone and you can actually AirPlay that to your Mac. And this is going to be the most useful thing in the world, considering the fact that I record a lot of my content sometimes on my iPad, and then having that transfer to my Mac takes so much of my storage. I use iCloud for storage, okay? And considering the fact that you have big gigabytes of footage, and transferring that, and then you have to keep the backup, and then it's stuck in your iCloud save because it's a mess. So I can't wait, because then what I can do is just AirPlay my iPad to my Mac and record my Mac screen. And so that will be, the content will all stay in one place, and so that I don't have to go hunting through, and especially because it's just a mess when you have content all over devices. So it'll be a little more easier for me, I think, to edit in general, and I'm very excited about that. They also announced Universal Control, which I was so excited about. It's basically where you can put your iPad, your iMac, your MacBook, or any, Apple devices that contain that. I'm not sure about the phone. They demonstrated it with an iPad, an iMac, and a MacBook, but you can enable Universal Control. I think it's through Bluetooth. I'm not sure, though. And you can take your mouse and you can go through any of the screens, and it works. So I thought that was mind blowing. Just the technology that we're getting towards is crazy, and I'm here for it. And I was really excited about that. Another really big thing I was so excited about was the widgets on iPad and the app library. Finally, I was so devastated in iOS 14 when we came to figure that some of the features with the app library and the widgets on the screen were not going to come on the iPad, and I was very devastated, okay? Like, I felt like the widgets were going to work better on the iPad because it's more just, it will improve the workspace. So I was very sad. And to come to figure out now in iOS 15 that's coming with an exclusive widget size that's just for the iPad. So I'm so excited and I'm hyped on trying iOS 15 on my iPad when it does come out. They also are having a redesigned Safari on all platforms, and we needed this, okay? So I have switched when Safari, I think it was Safari 14 came out with the privacy features and like that, like they had some like abstract arts for their home screens and stuff. I transitioned from Opera, which was a browser, to the Safari thing, and it was amazing, but I had so many complaints because it wouldn't save my tabs. I couldn't organize stuff. The privacy was good, and something I really missed about Safari, because when you use a third-party browser on the Mac, your touch bar gets limited. I've noticed this, but when you're on Safari, your touch bar can do much more because Safari is integrated with Apple. It's made by Apple. So you can do much more than if you're using Chrome, Opera, Brave, whatever. And so I really missed that. And so now in Safari, they're going to have this redesign of just, you can save tabs, you can have tab groups. The way it looks, it's seamless. There's not going to be like a bar with tabs. Like the background will be the same as what you're looking at. And I'm very excited about that. I know I'm going to convert to Safari as my main browser after that comes out because it sounds amazing. There's a lot of just amazing stuff. They're supporting third-party browsers now, or no, not browsers, sorry, extensions, and I'm very, very excited about that. And also the redesign on the iPad and iPhone Safari is going to be cleaner and nicer, and I'm pretty excited about the iPad and iPhone ones too. I will have to say I had a bigger complaint with Mac Safari than the iPad and iPhone Safari, so I'm more excited for it to come on a Mac, but I'm very excited. They also announced the Mac OS, I cannot pronounce. I know how to pronounce it, but when I hear it from someone, but when I just look at it, like, I cannot say it. I think it's Monterey. I think it is Monterey. I said Monterey on, like, that video, but I think it's Monterey, macOS Monterey, and that's going to be coming out, so I'm very, very hyped and excited for what's to come with Mac. To be honest, I was really just hyped in general with when a new software comes out, because you find so many ways to really dig deeper into what you're trying to do. So I'm very excited about it, and I can't actually wait until that comes out. I'm still debating if I want to get the public beta when it comes out or not. See, like, I would get it, but then I feel like it ruins the fun experience when it officially is out. So I think I'm going to just be patient and get it when it's officially polished. But until then, I'm excited about that. Last year, I remember I was anticipating the date that it was supposed to launch. Everyone, I assume, was just looking for this update, and they were like, it's going to come around, I think it was 2 o'clock for my time. And it didn't, and turns out that there was this, like, long delay from the software actually getting pushed out because there was a problem or something. So it was a little chaotic, but we eventually did get it, so Hopefully not this time, but I mean, it was really fun the entire day. I was like, anytime I would get access to my devices, I would like go check the software thing to see if it was out. But yeah, I'm very, very excited and very intrigued by the new software. But I feel like it's gonna elevate just digital content in general, and especially when they talked about the M1 earlier this year, the M1 MacBook. Wait, I don't think that was. Oh wait, when did they announce the M1 Mac or M1 not Mac iPad? I forgot when they announced it. I think yeah, it was in April. Yeah, I think it was in April. They announced the M1 and it was going to be available in the later half of May. And I'm debating on getting this, okay? Like I've had my eyes set to it. I have the iPad Air 2 and that's like 5-6 years old now. And I really think I want to get the M1 iPad Pro because it's the Apple chip one, but also I kind of need a new iPad. Mine dies in like 15 minutes. But if I do, I will do a video on it, but I think I might. It sounds intriguing to get. Apple's products are just something. And one thing I wanted to say is Apple's always late to the game, but I feel like they're the ones who polish their like software the best. If that makes sense, like we think about widgets last year when they were announced, they were like, oh yeah, Android has had it for many, many years. But I feel like when Apple does something, they kind of like to, like each feature is an experience in my opinion. It's not, like, Apple isn't going to just do something and not have it be worth an experience. So I think when widgets came out, it was something very experienceable because oh sorry, that was so loud, my apologies. But as I was saying, they kind of want that experience for their users, and I really appreciate that they take their time rather than rushing and being the first, because it's better to have something more high quality than being first to it. And plus, it's like Apple's little, I like to call like their little hangway to see if that feature is really something that people like when Android releases it first. So I have no complaints. I rather have it be much better and developed before it comes to our screens than having it be super bad and not developed and then having that on our screens. So I'm pretty happy, but I'm very excited for it to come on iPad, especially the iPad and the redesigned on the Mac. There's something I'm looking forward to all the devices. They also talked about watchOS and about the health stuff, so you can connect. I don't know how they said it. It was like you can connect, or people can see your health. You can share your health to family members if you're in family sharing, which I assume everyone is in because I am, and that's, I think, is really cool. They're coming out with iCloud Plus, which my dad was pretty hyped about that because we share like a family system of storage, and that just fills up. Okay, I don't know. We had it at like. First, like, you have your internal device storage, and then we had it at 64 gigabytes in our iCloud, and then we upgraded to 200 gigabytes, and that got filled. And so now, either we're just contemplating, so hopefully that's something that we can add, and it'll be pretty fun and interesting. But, the Worldwide Developer Conference was amazing. It was super fun to listen to and really get educated, There's the Swift is getting completely redesigned in coding. It's going to be so much better. It's the concurrency or something, and I'm very hyped, okay? It's just, I think every update gets just better and better. When an update's released, you're like, what can they do? Like, there's nothing much they can do to it. Like, there's a stopping point, but they just find something to add that users really want, and I really appreciate that about them. So I'm very excited about that. As you can see, for the first 13 minutes of the podcast, I've just talked about this. But I'm very hyped, okay, and I'm very, very excited about that. If you wanted, like, all the brief features, you can go check out the YouTube video that I did, which was me reacting onto it / giving a summary over it, which is the YouTube channel is linked down below, so definitely give it a check out. And now, the second thing I wanted to talk about was my series. So I had a series called Geometry, and when did it start? Oh, just when you think you're like ready and you have researched is when you know you need something. But it was let's wait. I'm not gonna be able to like properly talk about it until I figure it out. So, the first episode came on May 29th, 2021, pretty obvious, but Geometry was a series just me kind of doing some geometry stuff and units, and I was really, I really wanted to keep the series going on, but, with the lack of views on the YouTube channel with that particular video series, I was just like, we're gonna have to cut it. So we cut it after. The plan was to have at least 10, 15 episodes, but it cut short from just 4 episodes, and that episode, the last episode actually released on June 19th, Juneteenth, and it was Saturday, so you guys can definitely check that episode out. Also, sorry if you hear my chair. It's just ignore that, please. But I was very, very sad that I kind of had to let it go. But I had to think on a broader perspective. I don't want to put time into something that's not really, people aren't enjoying, and I'd rather put it onto videos people are enjoying. So with that kind of like statement in mind, I kind of decided to just put it off, and so it's going to be put off now, and the series is over technically. So the last episode released, there was a total of 4 episodes, and yeah, with that said, Geometry is over now. I next want to talk about my podcast stuff. So I don't know if you have noticed. I actually assume you probably have not noticed, because when you're watching it should be noticeable, but I don't know how this works. Okay, I'm very new to it, but recently I got an email by Apple Podcast. And so I got an email, and they were talking to me about, in the email it stated something like, create a podcast channel, and I was like, what? So I had no idea what that meant. So I decided, okay, well, we're going to read the entire email, like a good human person being that would, and actually figure out what they're talking about. So I was just, in the email, it talked about they're introducing podcast channels on Apple Podcasts, and I was like, I was pretty quiet, okay? In my head, I was kind of confused a little bit over what am I supposed to be doing. Come to find out, there's something called a podcast channel on Apple Podcasts. So this only applies to the platform Apple Podcast if you listen to Apple Podcasts. But apparently there's a podcast channel thing, and it's basically kind of like YouTube, but like not. If that makes sense. You basically can make a podcast channel on Apple Podcast, and you can put your shows in. So your actual podcast can be put into it, and it's kind of just like this, I don't know, it's just kind of like this thing. It's interesting, okay? I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a podcast. It's like a YouTube channel in particular, and it's like you're kind of on, you're just kind of like viewing it. So I called it the Study Center Podcast. Now I'm going to probably change that and make it plural, so it's the Study Center Podcast, because there's 2 podcasts I've done, Tastic Talks and Over Totality, which is the one you're listening on right now. But it basically kind of groups your 2 podcasts together. So it's public. I just looked at it. It's public on the web, but it's not public on the app yet. So I don't know when that's going to be public, but when it is, I will let you guys know in the episode. But it's basically, it groups those 2 podcast things together. So it's kind of like shows that, Tastic Talks and Over Totality are made by the Study Center Podcast Incorporation. Okay, sounding fancy, right? But that's kind of how it works. So I don't know a lot about it. I've just worked on it a little bit. I will explain more in depth on next episode when I actually have more information about it and it's officially, just the way I like it and want it. But until then, just try to find it if you can, and if you can't, that is fine, because neither can I on the mobile, so it's fine, okay? Next thing I wanted to talk about was my docu-series, just a little bit. I talked a little bit about it in episode 2, and I thought this was a little crazy to me, because I thought I was gonna have, a relaxed time just getting all these 4 parts out before even the first part releases, and now I'm on a time crunch. I'm panicking right now because I decided it would be fun to announce the trailer before I had all of them done. But I'm going to get them all out on their original time. I'm not going to delay any of them. I'm really try hard because I want to keep my word. But the first one is planned to come on July 2nd. The first one's done. It's good. Coming in 12 days. Well, when you guys watch this, it's going to be much less. But, okay, it's coming. So I'm very excited about that. But the rest three are not looking so hot. They're coming on their estimated time. So I'm working on it, and that's kind of why I've stopped making some videos, just so I can put my full attention and get those out in time, and then I will come back to my video schedule. It's just I'm just going through stuff, okay? So not personal stuff. That sounded so like I was going through something bad in real life. No, my life is fine. I'm going through stuff with this documentary, okay? It's taking a while. That's what I meant, I think. So yeah. But I was really excited about that. So hopefully it comes out on its original date time, and the Study Center podcast channel is interestingly waiting still. But the next thing I wanted to talk about was some astrology. What would it be a podcast if I don't talk about current events, right? That's what we're here for. So, I did not write any current events today. I'm just going to search it, and we're going to find some current events, and we are going to look at them and talk about them, because that's what we do. Speaking of that, there's nothing related to what I'm about to say, but my jaw hurts really bad right now, and I have no idea why it hurts, but it hurts. So if I mumble, I think it's because of my jaw, but I don't know. I'm a very interesting person sometimes. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. So there's some interesting stuff I already looked at relating to space, because, space is my forte right now. But the second space rock struck Earth after the one that killed dinosaurs. So there was a space rock that struck Earth 66 million years ago, killing the dinosaurs. And another asteroid hit Earth, delaying... Wait. Let me read this. Okay. Let me restate this. About 66 million years ago, Earth took a 1-2 punch, according to a new study. First came a space rock 6 miles wide that struck present-day Mexico. The impactor, named Chicxulub, CHICXULUB, contributed to the demise of dinosaurs, along with 50% to 75% of life on Earth. Then 650,000 years later, a mile-sized asteroid known as the Bultish struck. The rock carved out a 15-mile wide crater into what is now known as central Ukraine. Scientists once thought both Bultish and I cannot pronounce it. Just the B and the C things. The B and the C asteroids contributed to the mass extinction of the dinosaurs. But according to a study published Friday in the journal Science Advances, Bultish likely impacted Earth long after the last victims of the extinction died out. So, I cannot say these words. There was basically two asteroids, okay? They knew one asteroid that hit Earth 66 million years ago that extincted all the dinosaurs. Now, to figure out, there was another one that extincted about 650,000 years later, after the 660 million years ago. That was another rocket that carved out 15-mile wide crater, which is where it carved it out where now we know is central of Ukraine. Bottom line, something very important happened there. I'm sorry, okay? And the article was by Business Insider, just to say. What else? Laser data. U.S. will try sending lasers to send data from space to drones. Okay, well, just when you think technology cannot get any more advanced. Also, do you guys say data or data? I know a lot of people that say data, and I feel like that's such a a different generation, like people would say, like maybe like 3, 4 generations back, people would say data, but I say data until I hear someone say data, and then I say data. I'm confused, but just same word, right? What else? What else? What else? Do anything quite interesting on Earth, planet Earth, happening? Hmm. Boo hoo. Guess not a lot of interesting stuff, you guys. Also, can we just talk a second about how there was 2 mass shootings in Chicago 4 days apart? Okay, the limit of I want to actually search this up. I talked a lot briefly about it in episode 2 because I this is a family friendly podcast, so I do not want to get into you know the sinister of what is happening in our world right now, but that's kind of the number I talked about in the last podcast was about like 2 weeks back, and the number has probably tremendously grown. Let's see how many mass shootings have happened this year so far. Okay, this one I want to get one that's recent. So let's look at news. Maybe we'll find something recent. Okay, there's been 272 mass shootings this year so far. That is crazy for me to think about. 6 states this weekend, which was 2 weekends ago when you guys were listening to this. 6 states had a mass shooting in a span of 2 to 3 days. 6 states. I just want to say, like 10 years ago, one mass shooting would have happened maybe like every 3, 4 months. Not even 3, 4 months, like maybe like 5, 6 months. It was super rare, and when it happened, it was all over headlines. It was super like just traumatic for the entire nation. It was such this like just shock. Okay, like it was very crazy when you had heard of a mass shooting, and about 10 years ago. And now it's kind of like a thing that happens so frequently, and it's not acceptable, and it's kind of sad actually, because my heart goes out to all the victims who've died, and my heart also goes out to all the families who are grieving with this traumatic loss. And I really just can't stress enough, we really need to pull our life together. I know the pandemic was hard. We don't need more people to die than what we've already lost, and the 272 mass shootings and the pandemic that's killed more than 500,000 people, I think. Right? How many people died in the pandemic? The number might have grown. I've stopped looking at it because it's so sad to look at it. But in the United States, it's crazy. 601,000 have died. So that's like more than 500,000. And it's very, very traumatic. Very sad, and I really, really can't stress enough, we do not need more deaths, okay? So I really, really want to advise to everyone to stay safe, to encourage positivity, and to really, I know it's hard to say than to be done, or no, it's easier to say than to be done, but we really need to look out for each other. After all, we live on one planet Earth. A lot of people are like, oh, in 20 years we're going to find a new Earth. We might find a new Earth in 20 years, but who is going to vouch that we're not going to turn that Earth into the same that we're living in right now, There's so many problems. There's global warming, there's diseases, there's people that don't have good intentions. There is just very careless acts, and just even small negativity. There's so much negativity in our world right now, and we really need to all come together. Just hold each other's hands, do something kind. Like, I really don't know how to say this, but there's people who starve, there's people who have problems, there's people, just everyone goes through a problem in their life, and that's the point of life, is you go through problems, and you're gonna come over them, and you're gonna be happy. And speaking of that, this quote was from that girl in America's Got Talent. Her name was Jane, I think, Night Birdie, which I'll talk about in a second, but her quote was something along like, you can't wait until life is easy to be happy, or something along that line. I want to say the direct quote, because It was her quote. Night birdie quotes. One second, I need to find it. Yeah, okay, the exact quote was, "You can't wait until life isn't hard anymore to decide to be happy." So, also, sorry, I'm not crying. My nose just like apparently stuffed up for a second, and now I sound weird. But look, woman who made this. She appeared on America's Got Talent, and she's a girl who's battling cancer. She has cancer in quite a bit of areas, and it's said that she only has a 2% survival rate, but she is such a positive energy that she said to her, the crowd, that 2% is not 0%, and that 2% is something, and it's a ray of hope. So I really, really think she has had cancer 3 times in a row. It's crazy to say that people have it hard. Everyone will have it hard, but you just have to have you have to have a mentality of just getting through it and being happy with who you are. And I've struggled with a lot of stuff. Nothing so major, but in everyone's life, there's something I always think of, Everyone has a line in their life. It's kind of like, you think of a little post-it note, and then you put the little post-it note on a bigger post-it note, and you take that bigger post-it note with the little post-it note and put it on another bigger post-it note, and then you put all of those post-it notes on a big piece of paper. That's kind of how we work, okay? We have our brain, our problems. We take those and then we put them in our society, and that's like the bigger post-it note. We take our society and we put them in our state, and then we put them in our country, and then we put them in our world. And so sometimes the mentality kind of goes, you don't look around what people are struggling with, you kind of look around what you're struggling with and what your fears are right now. And for you, that's something so big as like having headaches every day right now, or having rashes all over your body. That might be something so bad for you, and I get it. And there's some people who have it worse, and some people who have it less worse, and that's just how the world works. And I just want everyone to just be happy and not to be so, not to be so comparing, because sometimes it's so hard to get compared and to live a life that, you don't feel happy, and you have to be happy. So live it to your full extent and just enjoy and have a full on kind of type of life you want to live, okay? This is getting so cliche from like a couple of episodes, or like the first episode. But bottom line, just enjoy and be very grateful for what's happened in your life, because it's really, really important. But further ado, you guys, I think that is all for today's podcast episode. I think I talked about everything I wanted to. At least I think I did. But yeah, let me know if you guys like longer episodes. I will have longer ones coming next couple of weeks. This one's going to be a little shorter than I anticipated. I was expecting more like a 50-minute episode today, but I have to kind of go early and actually do some other stuff and run some errands. So I will be back next week on Friday at this exact time. I will be here hopefully, and to talk about more topics and more stuff, and just being an advocate and educating on stuff. Is the entire theme of Over Totality. It's to advocate and educate over anything really, but that's important to me and to you and to everyone else. So I really hope everyone has an amazing day. Make sure to go ahead and do an act of kindness to someone. I know, just do something kind to someone and make their day, because you doing something will trigger someone else to do something to do it to someone else, and that's going to become a chain of just active kindnesses. So you do one today, and if everyone does one today, trust me, that's almost 8 billion acts of kindness. I highly doubt 8 billion people are listening to this. I think maybe 10 people were probably listening to this, but spread that act of kindness, and really appreciate it. Like I say, one person does something good, if everyone does one thing good, it's really big. And I'm getting a call, so I'm going to end this episode right here, you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Alright guys, I hope you had a nice episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to go and check out my socials on Instagram and Twitter at Only Study Center, as well as the official Twitter or Instagram handle for this podcast, Over Totality. While you're there, make sure to check out my YouTube channel as well, which has a lot of great content offering for you guys. And stay safe, have fun, and just enjoy life to the fullest. I'll see you guys next time for a new episode of Over Totality. Goodbye.